The Democrat Party is imploding. We're seeing nothing short of a massive civil war erupt with the rise of the Never Bernie movement that promises to sink the party in 2020. So we're going to take a look at the results of the Nevada caucus and why the mainstream corporatist globalist media is leading a Never Bernie charge that is effectively tearing their party apart. You're not going to want to miss it. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here. As always, I'm on the road again. As you can see, I'm checking out some colleges with my daughter. We're having a great time. I keep telling her, we're on a road trip together. We're kind of like Thelma and Louise, right? Yeah, she didn't find it too funny either. But I did want to quickly weigh in on the results of the Nevada caucus, the Bernie Sanders surge, and what it means for the 2020 election. Now, before we do, make sure to download your free gift, which we put together just for you. We're calling it our Fake News Antidote, which is a compilation of about 20 sites that I go to every day for my news, and you can download it completely free at the link down below in the pinned comment section. I think you're really going to love it. It was a pleasure to put together for you. And finally, we want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that is none other than our good friend, Robert Herjavec, the multi-millionaire investor, now TV star from the hit show Shark Tank. I'm sure you know him well. Robert has an amazing opportunity for you. He and his team of ultra-successful angel investors are here to help you get in on ground floor investment opportunities for as low as just $50. Watch the free video at getangelrich.com or just click on the link in the description below and see how you can participate in these potentially lucrative deals before they go mainstream. But don't wait. Check out that video at getangelrich.com. All right, so let's dive in here. We've had quite the weekend going on. Now, thus far, we've had 3 Democrat contests: Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada. Or as Trump would say, Nevada. Did you see his rally was so awesome? You got to say Nevada. Great people in Nevada. Great people. All right, so Sanders wins the popular vote, in Iowa without getting the most amount of delegates, right? So he wins the popular vote. He barely won New Hampshire, and he trounced everyone in Nevada. He's gaining on Biden in South Carolina. South Carolina was supposed to be Biden's southern wall, right? That would be the place where blacks would come out and vote for Biden en masse and effectively stall whatever surge either Bernie or Buttigieg, bada boom, bada beam, ended up getting from the previous contest. That southern wall looks like it is collapsing on Biden. Bernie is surging in South Carolina. So we'll have to see what goes on there, because that could be the death of Biden right there. But to know where we are right now, you need look no farther than what left-wing Democrat operatives, particularly in the mainstream corporatist media, are saying. They are absolutely panicked. And we're seeing nothing less than a rise of a Never Bernie movement led by none other than the Democratic leadership in Congress and the mainstream media. What we're witnessing here is that the Democratic leadership and the mainstream media are basically teaming up to take Bernie out. And this is because, and I think Victor Davis Hanson said it best, Bernie Sanders represents really nothing less than an existential threat to the Democrat Party, the neoliberal-led, Wall Street finance, corporatist, globalist Democrat Party. Bernie Sanders is an existential threat to the very existence of the neolib corporatist globalist Democrats, okay? What we have to understand is that with all the disruption that Trump brought to the Republican Party in 2016, he still ran on an identifiably conservative platform reminiscent of a Reagan-esque Morning in America style campaign. So he was going to cut taxes, he's going to revitalize the military, we were going to reassert our national sovereignty in the world. We're going to slash regulations. We're going to appoint conservative judges. You name it. I mean, that was basically a Reagan-esque platform. But when it comes to Bernie, think this one through. When it comes to Bernie, he's not running on virtually anything even remotely similar to what Bill Clinton embodied, or even Barack Obama. Clinton and Obama were thoroughly corporatist globalists. They loved Wall Street. They loved billionaire CEOs, right? They made a lot of money off of them. Sanders is something fundamentally different, isn't he? I mean, he really is an honest-to-God Marxist socialist who wants to fundamentally transform the Democrat Party, let alone the nation, into a Venezuelan economic Marxist entity. And so what's happening here is that Sanders is fracturing the Democrat Party in a way the Republican Party has never been fractured. Again, say whatever you want about Trump, there is a pretty radical continuity between him and Reagan in terms of their platforms and their beliefs. And another thing that Hansen didn't mention that I think is really important, the Democrat Party as a whole is divided unlike anything we've seen in the Republican Party. That's key. We have to keep in mind that the Republican Party was split in 2016 fundamentally between the rank and file Republican voter versus the Republican elite, the ruling class, the Bill Kristols, the David Brooks of the New York Times, right? The Brett Stevens, the Joe Scarboroughs. What happened, what we found was that when a tried and true nationalist populist, Pat Buchanan populist, broke through and began looking more and more like he was going to win the nomination, you had a number of the Republican elite declare themselves never Trumpers. But many of them had already left the Republican Party. I mean, keep in mind, David Brooks, the token so-called conservative at the New York Times, Brooks voted for Obama twice. I mean, he was fully on board on the whole Obama train. Same with Fareed Zakaria of CNN. I mean, these guys were all once considered sort of the intellectual voices of a kind of neocon world, and they all abandoned the Republican Party long before Trump. So, but they still tried to keep up appearances. But they had already more or less abandoned the party. And so when they did the whole Never Trump thing, nobody listened to them. And then to add insult to injury, when rank and file Republican voters were polled to find out which candidates they most agreed with, 97% of them turned out to be, nationalist, populist, traditionalists in the most thoroughgoing sense. They were thoroughly in Trump's camp. That's why he's such a unanimous party behind them. The rank and file Republicans wanted nothing to do with George W. Bush unending wars. They hated globalism. They want some kind of economic nationalism. They wanted manufacturing and industry returned to the country. They were thoroughly pro-life and traditional marriage, you name it. So the civil war that took place in the Republican Party in 2016 was a civil war between the elite ruling class and the people, the Republican voter. And the populist revolt won. The Republican voter won. The Never Trump movement stalled out and is nothing more than the butt of ridicule and embarrassment, as is Bill Kristol and Joe Scarborough, for example. The Democrat civil war that's emerging here is radically different. This is a civil war between half the party that wants to go full-blown Marxist socialist and the other half of the party that wants to remain corporatist globalist because they're making lots of cash off it. And you want to take a guess on which side the corporatist globalist media is taking? So now you have Chris Matthews, who has a hard time articulating a coherent thought without spitting. You have Chris Matthews predicting that the Democrats are now going to lose 49 seats with Bernie. 49 states, rather. It's going to be like Reagan versus Mondale in 1984, Nixon versus McGovern in 72. It's going to be an absolute landslide bloodbath, okay? You have the Democrat leadership coming out on the Sunday talk shows and openly stating that if Sanders is nominated, the Democrats will lose the House. It's not a matter of possibility, it is fact. Sanders will take down the Democrat Party. Now, gang, just take a step back and think about it here. Can you imagine how devastating the commercials will be that the Trump campaign will run with Democrats talking about how horrifying Bernie is? Can you imagine how effective that's going to be? And again, these aren't his opponents saying this. This is virtually the entirety of the corporatist globalist media saying these things. And then you put on top of all of that the fact that Sanders won't even release his medical records. I mean, the guy's just had a major heart attack. I mean, let's be blunt. He doesn't look well. I mean, not to be a jerk, but I mean, the guy is not the most healthy looking fellow. He's all bent over and crotchety, and his hair's like the professor from Back to the Future. I mean, he's an odd looking kind of fellow. And the corporatist globalist media, together with the leadership of the Democratic Party, along with half of the rank and file Democrat voter, are scared to death of Bernie. And so we're seeing nothing short of a massive Never Bernie movement form that goes way beyond anything that threatened Trump in 2016. We're literally seeing nothing less than the tearing apart, the renting asunder of the Democratic Party. All right, gang, I got to go. I got to get back to the road here, our road trip. Now, before you go, we just did an awesome video on French President Macron getting confronted by a very angry mob. He can't go anywhere without protesters harassing him. It's absolutely hilarious. You'll love it. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.